The Renaissance, Sir Francis Bacon, Part 13, Idols of the Tribe, Professor Michael Botwin, Department of Psychology, California State University, Fresno. Our last foray into our discussion of the work of Francis Bacon is to talk about idols of the tribe. And these are errors that we make just because of human nature. And Bacon includes several things in this, but basically it has to do with not having a critical analysis of beliefs or of simply accepting regular occurring events. We tend to try to do things as humans like to fit things into patterns. We look for evidence that support our conclusions, not necessarily just the facts. And most of us are intellectually kind of lazy. We don't like to think too deeply. We have trouble conceiving things like infinity, and we're affected by what we want to believe, whether it is right or wrong. Our senses can fool us, and a lot of times we can see what we want to see rather than what's there. And as humans, we also like to generalize a whole lot. Now, also in terms of the idols of the tribe, common sense comes into play. Notice, remember, common sense is an Aristotle term, so he's using that again in a negative way. And this is the tendency to rely on limited assumptions without verifying them as established truths. So it's common sense to see that the sun rises in the morning and sets at night. It isn't common sense to talk about the planet rotating and causing the 24-hour day and night cycle. We also have the notion of beliefs, and we look for evidence to support our personal beliefs and possibly ignore things that don't fit in our belief system. And you see this all the time. I'm not going to give examples there because you may be of a different political ilk than me, but just look around at the politicians these days, and they have a tendency to look for evidence to support their beliefs and ignore other good evidence that's out there. Humans generally are very optimistic, and another error we make is one in wishful thinking. And wishful thinking is part of the idols of the tribe because it's the tendency to believe what we want to, regardless of the facts. We see this all over the place in our society. People want to believe things, whether they are the facts or not. One example that I will give you comes out of the work of Steven Pinker, who is a foremost linguist and psychologist and evolutionary thinker. He's a writer of many pop books, and he recently wrote a book called Our Better Angels. And he looks at things like violence in human society over long periods of time. And believe it or not, our times right now are far less violent than past times. And we tend not to want to believe this because we hear about all the violence on TV all the time. But before TV and before the media was letting us know about everything that was going on, we tended to look for things that fit in with what we wanted to believe. So a lot of people want to believe that we live in a far more violent culture and a violent world. However, that's simply not the case. Does it mean our world isn't violent? No. Does it mean there aren't bad things going on? Absolutely not. Using all kinds of double, triple negatives there. But sometimes the facts defy what we want to believe or what we think we observe in everyday life. Another bias that we have due to being human is overgeneralization, and that's the tendency to jump to conclusions based on first impressions. Whether it's the first impression of meeting someone or hearing a news story A lot of times we see something and we don't understand the deep meanings of things, so we'll just go with some quick first impressions. We also have ultimate causes, and this is an error because Bacon says we have the tendency, to describe the cause without verifying that it really is the cause. A lot of times we just say something causes something and we don't verify it. We don't do this very much as scientists because we do causal experiments that show cause and effect relationships. But if you look about in society and read the news, you will find many times where someone attributes a cause to something and it really isn't there. Well, there's a secret fifth idol that I just want to let you know about. It'll just be between us and a selective group of people. It's the fifth British idol, the Billy idol. Sorry. Had to end the idols with something a bit trivial. Unless you're really a big fan of Billy Idols, and I'm trivializing him, which I'm not. But just got to throw the occasional bad joke in there, even if I can't see you laugh in these video lectures. So we finished Bacon, which finishes our discussion of the Renaissance. We'll move on to more modern times in the history of psychology. See you then. Bye now. This has been a We Have Couches video production. Copyright 2020. Professor Michael Botwin. All rights reserved.